What you gonna do, brother, when Jeff Townsend Media runs wild on you?
All right. Luke, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
You sound good. You had a fresh haircut. You're ready to get scary here.
Did I have the haircut last time? I guess it's been a couple weeks.
I haven't had a haircut in so long.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just going for the hippie look, I guess, trying to pull it off, man. How you doing, dude?
Good. I've been reading these particular stories today. I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole. And so, I kind of got lost in it. And for a little bit, I was just kind of freaking myself out with the similarities between these different people. Anyway.
Do you see the lights flashing in my studio, or is that just on my end?
I didn't notice it, but maybe it happened.
Man, somebody wants to know if you walked your cat tonight. He actually just walked the cat before we got on.
Did. Yeah. He was being a real asshole. Didn't want to come back in.
But we're here live. We made it. It's actually getting everything ready for a live stream is rough. So that's all on me. I'll take all the blame for that. So yeah, this is Your Scary Stories, the show where we live stream and share your scary stories live on the air, Luke. I like the sound of that. Live on the air. I feel like I'm on the radio.
Yeah.
So you walk your cat. People are just all over you, man. Well, okay, so he claims he has a dog, but I just believe personally he's probably walking a cat. He's in denial. I just don't know if he's seen things, like he just thinks it's a dog, but yeah. So everybody's commenting, they're saying hello. Yeah, thanks for joining us live. Where's Jack? Jack is doing some behind the scenes stuff for Jeff Townsend Media. So he's helping produce the podcast. So that's what Jack's up to. Thank you for asking. How many stories we have tonight? I think we have 6 in total. I think.
Yeah. I think you said you had 3. I have 3.
Not only do I have 3, I actually have one with some video on it. So I'm super excited. I'm just absolutely thrilled to share that one. So yeah, comment along, join us, whatever platform you're on. We're live across 8 different platforms. I think Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, of course, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch. What am I missing? I don't know. Everywhere. They get the point across, I guess, everywhere.
Yeah.
Luke, am I going to start it off like always tonight, you think?
Yeah, I
Want me
think
to start it off?
we'll just alternate. Yeah.
So as always, I didn't get stories that are consistent with each other, which I think I probably need to get better at. You're pretty good about that. You're getting a little better at that. I just kind of have mine all over the place. So I'll stick to that tradition, I guess. See if I can cue up some background music here. Set the mood. Still loading. Man, you have to let me know if you hear it here in a second, Luke. Then we'll get it going. Get this pulled up here. I got it. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Okay. Hopefully I don't sound too. Hopefully, does it sound like a good volume?
Oh yeah, sounds good to me.
Cool. Okay, we'll go ahead and get it going here. So this is called Scary Babysitter Story. It's by Red Wolf 21. The Red Red Wolf 21. Thank you for sharing the story. So we'll jump into it here. I said goodbye to my mom as I hung up the phone and walked up the stairs to Tyler's house, the kid who I'd be babysitting. I greeted his mom at the door. She was in a hurry. She had told me everything over the phone that she needed to tell me so she could leave as soon as I got there. She hurried into the cab out front and headed off to the airport. Tyler was 5 years old and had autism, so I knew watching him was going to be a bit of a challenge. At first, I had to get myself accustomed to Tyler's behavior and ways of interacting, but I got used to it and I learned to accommodate him. I would hear him talking to himself in a lot of different rooms. Usually, I would assume he was playing, but sometimes it seemed like he was literally just talking to himself. I'd be watching Tyler for the whole weekend. On the first night, I woke up to Tyler laughing outside of the room I was sleeping in. So I thought this was pretty weird. I was confused because I saw the bedroom door open in the guest room I was sleeping in, and I knew for sure I had closed it. I went to see where Tyler was. I heard his laughter coming from his bedroom. A crack in the wood floor made from me walking made his laughter instantly stop, and then the light in his room suddenly went dark, and I heard him dive back into bed and pull the blankets over him. I wasn't even halfway across the hall yet. I still called out, "Tyler, stay in bed." Then at that point in time, I decided I got my point across, so I went back to sleep. The next day, I asked him what he was doing. I couldn't get much more of a response out of him than "I don't remember." For the rest of the day, I tried to play games and watch TV with him. He seemed more interested in playing in his room upstairs, though. So I let him be, and I watched TV by myself, basically until the sun went down, minus making dinner and other few small chores. Eventually, the time came for bed. I tucked Tyler in, making sure to tell him to stay in his bed this time. I went to sleep no more than an hour later. Once again, I was woken up by a noise. It was the sound of giggling. Then I heard whispering. It had to be Tyler. I sat up, rubbed my eyes, and looked around the room. "Tyler?" I called out. There was giggling again. It came from across the room I was in, the guest bedroom. I sat up in bed and I flipped on the lamp real quick, and there was Tyler sitting in the closet with the door slit halfway open, revealing only half of his face. I have to admit, it was a disturbing thing to witness at 2 a.m. The shade and angle of the light hitting him where it hit his face made it even more disturbing. I got up and went over to pull him out of the closet. I was upset with him, and I let him know it. I brought him back to his bed and asked him why he did that. His response was very unsettling. He said, "Tony told me to." I asked him who Tony was. He said it was the man in the closet he was talking to. My heart skipped a beat as he said this. Still, I knew it just had to be his imagination running wild. I told him to stay in bed for real this time, or there would be consequences. I went back to my guest room and shut the door. As I laid in bed, I thought about what Tyler had said about the man in the closet. And I thought, why would he say that? I laid on my side and for the longest time tried my best to clear my head and just go to sleep. I wanted to just go to sleep. But there was a sudden sound of something falling. Something hitting the closet door, rather than falling, hitting the closet door. It almost sounded like somebody had a body part, like a knee or something, bump the closet door. It didn't sound like a heavy object falling onto the door, rather than just a bump. Again, assuming, I called out Tyler's name. Tyler, hoping it was just him playing games again. Me saying his name went unanswered. So now I called out, Tyler, even louder. Loud enough for him to hear me across the hall and in his room. He called back, yes, but it came from down the hall. His answer I could hear. He was in his room. At that moment, I jumped up out of bed and I ran to Tyler's room to get him out of his bed. I carried him to the bathroom where we hid and we called the cops. I stayed on the line with the 911 operator, only whispering occasionally that we were still okay to the operator until the cops finally banged on the door downstairs. I heard them open the front door, which was weird because this front door should have been locked. They shouted, police, to which I responded by running with Tyler in my arms to the living room. The rest of the story is history. The intruder in the closet who was talking to Tyler must have walked out the front door. By the next day, that was the end of me and that family. I don't know whatever happened after that, but I hope whoever was in that closet never returned.
Shit. This
Yeah.
reminds me of a couple of stories that we've heard of people being hidden in a house. Actually, there was the one with the was another babysitter, I think, right? With the what's it called? Baby monitor. With
The baby monitor story, yeah.
But
That
they,
was
like,
actually with a
covered up
toddler. That was with a toddler, right? A young
Yeah.
toddler.
and they covered up the camera.
Yeah.
That was messed up. And so this kind of reminds me of those. And it's just absolutely terrifying. And I have an autistic nephew. So, like, the idea of someone being there talking to him, is gut wrenching. So, that's terrifying.
Yeah. I think if you just heard the kid talking, you would probably assume, like they did, that it was just someone conversing with an imaginary friend, just playing amongst themselves. Really nothing about it, right? Because even
Yeah.
my kids, I have kids, they're always talking to
Mm-hmm.
themselves. So you probably wouldn't think much of it. But then again, you would probably be a little concerned that the kid was in your closet that first night.
Yeah.
That's a weird thing to do. But to your point, obviously has a disability, strange thing to do nevertheless. But I think, to me, when you approach the room and you make that sound on the floor, like she talked about, like you know how you can hear somebody approaching on a hardwood
Yeah.
floor, and then the lights got flipped off real fast and they dove into bed. That's an indication of any human that something's going on, right?
Yeah.
So then then the next night you actually have this happen, which is insane.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy. That's just a terrifying idea and story, and yeah, that's messed up.
Again, we have this scenario like we always talk about where they seem like they go in the bathroom and hide, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't. It's probably partially because the bathroom's generally close to a bedroom down the hallway,
Yeah.
and it's the safest place to shut the door. But
And usually they have no windows or anything like that. And
yeah, I guess it's where you'd go if there was a storm, and I guess it's where you'd go if you were worried somebody was in your house. So
yeah, a lot of times actually when they build houses, if they're building out a bathroom, they have more studs in the walls. And because it's supposed to be like a safer area. So
yeah, usually in the center. It's usually in some sort of, I want to say center of the house, but nevertheless.
Yeah.
Somebody
So,
said they always hide in the bathroom in movies too. That's true.
yeah.
That's true. I don't know why. That must be like a safe haven, I'm gonna hide in this bathroom, but I don't know what else you could do. I think it's interesting how the individual ends the story by saying, "By the next day, that was the end of me and that family." I don't know what ever happened after that, but I hope whoever was in that closet never returned. One of those instances where it's so traumatic, you're just not gonna go back, right? I mean,
Not
you
even
can't
talk
go
about
back.
it ever again.
And you don't there was like on some of these stories we've shared, not the baby monitor one, but others, they catch the individual, like that terrifying story of the homeless guy sleeping under the kid's bed. He's
Yeah.
arrested, right?
Yeah.
But in this instance, you don't
Don't
you,
know.
you don't know. You never caught the guy. So I could definitely see where I'm going to disconnect myself from that
Yeah.
entire situation completely. I
Yeah.
think that's what's happened.
Definitely. Yeah. Oh, that's a crazy one.
Yeah, no, it definitely gets you thinking.
You know the
And
story.
what'd you say?
I hit some button on the computer and just flipped on some video. Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was. I was like,
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy.
I thought you were doing one of those things that you do, like
Man, it's just dang old complicated, man. It's like a dang old Rubik's Cube, man. You like talking about it, blue, red, man, then you get to one side and then you like messed up the other side.
No, but it was close to that.
it kind of sounded like that, to be honest with
Yeah,
you.
it did actually, because I caught it like right away. So he was like saying something similar to that.
I just thought you were trying to like jump scare me, like.
No, I jump scared myself because I was like, "Oh shit!"
All right, do you want me to queue up? Are you ready?
I am ready.
I just hit play on the music.
Alrighty. My first story is part of a series of stories that I'm going to read tonight. They're not connected by the people at all, but it is a very similar thing. And like I said, it was a bit of a rabbit hole I went down. All right, so the title of this story is The Thing on the Lake. So, I live in Michigan, about 40 minutes away from any large town or neighborhood. I like it that way. I enjoy the solitude. I like to go camping, and I have a truck and a small rowboat that I use for fishing. I can take it anywhere because it fits in my truck bed, and I leave the hatch open and strap it down. It's light enough for me to handle on my own, so it's really nice to bring a cooler of beers, my fishing gear to local lakes, and use my boat. I am very careful to wash my boat between lakes because I know about invasive fish and parasites, so I clean and wax the boat every time I use it. Get to the lake that I'm heading to today, and it's a very overgrown, horribly so. I had to clear big sticks from the path that had been there for a while, or looked like they had, till I reached the lake. As I pulled up, there was a small clearing and a decent-sized lake, about the size I could row across in 10 minutes or less if I tried. I pulled in, unloaded my boat and my beer. I was off on the lake in under 20 minutes. I brought my beer cooler on the boat with me because I can, and there's nothing better than boats and beers and solitude. I was on the lake and I noticed that staring at my boat from the shore, there was a tall, skinny, and intelligent-looking animal that was standing on its hind legs. The creature had long, stick-like arms and long, thick legs. It was a little bit far to see very well, but it may have had large brown eyes. It had to have been my imagination, I thought, so I tried to shake myself out of it. I couldn't believe my eyes when I realized I wasn't hallucinating. From my view, I guess it would have been about 8 feet tall, considering how tall it looked next to my truck. It was looking at me. I felt petrified. There's nothing at all that could have made me feel safe in that moment. Even if I thought to shoot at it, I had left my gun in the car. I reached for my oars after I was startled. It seemed to notice and stopped looking my direction, which made me feel more upset, because that meant it had been watching me, probably for a while, before I looked over towards it. The animal that went and started to inspect my truck, tapping on it, and it looked like it was checking out its reflection. I couldn't do anything, but I had to watch in horror while it made some shrieking noises and ran in the woods on all fours. It disappeared into the forest almost instantly. I can't describe how difficult it was to row back to shore after seeing that. My arms felt like jelly, and my heart was out of control. I felt like my whole body was dunked in ice water, and it was uneasy until I got home. When I got to shore, I considered leaving my boat behind, but instead, I ran to my car to get my sidearm and then loaded up the boat afterwards. He went on to say in a comment that he still goes out in nature, but this was a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence that makes him now practice sharpshooting and makes him keep his gun with him at all times.
Is it a sidearm if it's not on you?
That's a good question. I would say no.
That's the first thing I thought. How inconvenient. It just was not on you.
So this is, like I said, the first in 3 different stories of a very similar creature that after I read these stories, and in fact, once we get to the end, I'll tell you what my thought process on this possibly being, because these days get progressively weirder.
I'll tell you my thought process of what it seems like now to me, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
It sounds like a death claw from Fallout right now. That's just where I've got. Somebody said, remind me to never go fishing. The creature just wanted to check out his truck. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, maybe he just liked his truck. Yeah, you never know.
The first thing that came to my mind was possibly a bear with mange. I don't know if you've ever seen a hairless bear.
Yeah.
Looks like a nightmare, right? So that was the first thing I thought. But then I kind of dug into these stories, and they are everywhere, and they get crazy.
8 foot tall, you said, right?
8 foot tall, yeah.
That's pretty scary.
Yeah, so it was like twice the height of his truck, basically, or something like that. Or
I guess a bear could stand on its back legs, right, and be that tall.
Grizzlies get real tall.
Well, where was this at again? Michigan, you said.
Michigan, yeah.
On a lake in Michigan.
Yep.
That's a pretty neat one. So it's going to progress. So the stories you have the rest of this night are going to progress off of that.
Yeah, they're not even by the same person. They're just all over the place.
Okay, so this is an actual thing. Okay, so this is an actual thing that we're going to dive deeper into. Oh, you know, I like that. That's my jam right there.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that's exciting. So just to kind of how far? So so what happened was he ended up into the water, right?
Yeah, he was on his boat out there, and so he got out there a ways, and he kind of just looked around, and he saw this thing staring at him in the water. And at first, it didn't know that he saw it until he started rowing back, and then the fact that it was like it acknowledged it that he was coming back put him off even more. And I agree, that would be absolutely insane.
He wasn't rowing anywhere too fast, was he?
No.
He even debated if he was just going to give up that boat.
Yeah.
It wasn't even worth it. It was just a rowboat after all.
I mean, he said it was small enough he could fit in the back of his truck and manhandle it in himself. I don't think that's worth saving.
Yeah, what at these points in times, you just wish you had a real damn boat. If something could, if you can't get away as fast as something swimming, then that's not the kind of boat I want. Screw the boat, somebody said. Somebody said, the hell with the boat. Everybody says ditch the boat. Yeah, if you're listening to it live, we appreciate it. We're live across 8 different platforms. This is Your Scary Stories, the show where we share your scary stories live on the air. Luke just got done finishing his first story of the night. We're going to dig deeper into it as the night progresses. Sounds like there's a creature in the making. I'm going to go with a death claw. But by the look at your face, I'm not even close. So I'll have to wait and be patient and see. This next story I'm going to share, I'm so excited about this. So this story has gone viral. So this story is not by no means going to be your first time hearing it, possibly. Credit to Mr. Nightmare, where I actually had heard this story. It's everywhere. This is a popular one, and I actually have footage to share along with it. So I'm extra excited.
This should be fun.
This story is called Terrifying Crawlspace Horror Story. It's by Jake H. Usually, the scariest things you'll find in a crawlspace would be mice or spiders, maybe crickets. Jake found something way more terrifying than any creature in his crawlspace. Jake lives in a nice neighborhood and owns his own house, where his girlfriend lives with him. Jake met his girlfriend in their local community. The two hit it off and would eventually start to date. At some point during this time, she opened up to him about her old abusive ex. She described her ex as a ticking time bomb. He would often be very sweet, and she did like his more genuine kind side, but he could at a switch become a completely different person. One side, like she mentioned, was sweet. The other side was a very aggressive, scary man who would do things like fight bouncers at bars, punch holes in walls, or even sometimes actually get physically abusive with her. Things would become so rocky between the two that eventually she would end things with her ex, but he didn't take that news well. She feared that her ex was stalking her, an example, at her parents' house during the late night hours. Either she or her parents would hear sounds from the backyard, things like a gate slamming shut or the back door shed closing. She made the decision to disable all forms of social media after the breakup, and she became very concerned, so concerned for her well-being that she actually decided to move in with her boyfriend, Jake. Started the story with. On one regular night that Jake's girlfriend wasn't in the house with him, he was in his living room when he heard noises coming from the crawl space. He moved from the living room to his kitchen and sat at the island for a while, continuing to listen, and kept hearing these strange noises, occasionally thumping sounds from directly below him. It was at this time where he started to record a video for a Snapchat story. Assuming that he was hearing an animal of some kind, such as a raccoon, he thought this would be an entertaining thing to record for Snapchat, which it does sound like it would be, right? A raccoon in your crawl space. I've had a squirrel in my attic. That definitely was not fun. As he enters the crawl space, he stops recording for a second, and we'll get in this video here in a second. And I did edit this video down shorter, so if you're watching it, that's not the complete original presentation. So don't think that it's edited in any sort of way, because that was me. You'll see the light come on at some time so he can see when he gets down in the crawl space. Also note that the crawl space appears to be mostly empty, aside from some boxes that were tucked into the corner. Jake said that he saw these boxes this way. He was confused because he didn't remember leaving them that way. So Jake decides to walk deeper into the crawl space. We're going to pick up on the video now, and actually it'll do a short recap of what we talked about, where he's sitting at the kitchen on the island when he's hearing these noises, when he starts to record this on Snapchat. What the fuck is that noise? Holy shit. That's gotta be an animal. Oh, jeez. Just leave that up there for a second, and I will pick back up on the story here in a moment. But It's important to note, and we'll get into it here. This is where the video ends, and if anybody listening has used Snapchat, that's because when you basically have to hold down the screen that says record. So as soon as you let off your finger off the screen, it stops recording. So that explains that. Let me summarize. Let me finish up the story here. Jake said that he heard a noise in one corner, like pebbles being scraped on the concrete floor. As he heard the noise, he turned to the corner, and this is where he saw the most terrifying sight. The sight of somebody hunched over dressed in all black who was hiding in the corner. When spotted, the individual started approaching him, which you could see in the video. The scream that Jake sounded like sounded completely legitimate from somebody witnessing something very disturbing as an intruder hiding in their crawl space and then basically lunging at them. The video cuts out seconds later, like I just said, because of the Snapchat. He did go on to explain what happened to the rest of this event. He ran back to the ladder of his crawl space, and as he was climbing up, a hand grabbed his leg and tried to pull him back down into the crawl space. He was able to get, by kicking the hand off of his leg, he was able to shut the crawl space door in their face. Unfortunately, the door to the closet, which contained the crawl space, didn't have a lock, so Jake's first instinct was to run to the kitchen and grab the biggest knife and lock himself inside the bathroom. He said he heard the closet door open and footsteps come out of the bathroom door, and then the person on the other side of the door tried to turn the doorknob. Not knowing what kind of weapons the intruder might have, Jake didn't engage the intruder in a fight. Instead, he silently called 911 and kept the line going, and eventually he heard footsteps quickly leave the house and out the front door. Now Jake told the 911 operator about the incident. Jake's girlfriend refused to come to the house after hearing of this incident because she swore left and right that the man in the video had to be her ex. It's impossible to make out any notable facial features in the video. You can see that the person was wearing all black and their head was covered by a hood. Jake also described the man to be very tall, intimidating stature, despite being hunched over in the crawl space. Jake's girlfriend said her ex was very tall, and upon watching the video, she swears it looks just like him. Of course, it's just speculation on her part, and without solid evidence legally, they don't have many options. They didn't have many options. In the video he shared, you can hear loud thumping and hammering type sounds in the beginning. After going back into the crawl space and investigating, Jake found that the intruder had been ripping through some insulation on the crawl space and been actually hammering at some of the wood on the ceiling of the crawl space. It's unknown what he was doing. It was also discovered that the key, the couple hides in one of their sheds, the house key, was missing, which probably revealed how the intruder got inside. Jake changed the locks on the door that exact same night, but his girlfriend has yet to return to the house. She's almost certain now that she's being stalked by her crazy ex-boyfriend. Jake has installed a Ring doorbell camera recently, and on the occasion he's gotten a notification by Alexa device that there's someone at the front door, but there's never anybody actually there when he looks, not visibly at least. It's crazy to think this started with a guy simply trying to get a funny Snapchat story of what he assumed to be a raccoon or something in his crawl space, but turned into something much more horrifying.
Okay, well, I was terrified when I saw his crawl space because it looks identical to the crawl space entrance in my house. Same carpet.
It looks pretty close to mine, and mine actually, the entrance to my crawl space is in my utility room, my laundry room.
Mm-hmm.
So same sort of setup. So yeah, I'm with you there, dude. I felt it completely. You really can't walk comfortably. It's actually almost more comfortable to scoot around on your knees.
Oh man, that was rough.
Yeah,
I saw that though, and I was like, man, that is terrifying. Especially since I'm actually going to show that video to my nephew Emery, because recently we sent him down in our crawl space to run some wire for us, And so I want to show him that video next time I see him because he's gonna love that.
There was the comments during this video there were a lot. There were dozens.
Yeah,
People are saying, "Don't go down there. Don't be stupid. Why would you go down there? Why?" A lot of whys. F that. Somebody have said, "What the hell? If I hear something like that in my crawl space, I'm throwing bug bombs down there." So I will say, okay, so right before we bought our first house, we lived in this little rental, and squirrels got into the attic. They got in between the roof and whatever got into there, and you do hear the sounds. And my first instinct's like and there's so many horror stories out there of things being in the attic too.
yeah.
My first instinct was it's a squirrel, it's a raccoon or something.
Hmm.
But in that particular house, you went up a pull down ladder into this attic. And you look around and that, just like my house now, has that like spray foam stuff everywhere. It's not like there is insulation laid up on the walls and stuff like that, but it's mostly that foam all over the floor. So you really can't see shit basically, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but in a crawl space like this particular one, it was just so wide open. And once he got around the corner and he moves that camera and you see that person, that's it. It was truly a jump scare. And the reason I think it's so real is because when you are on Snapchat, once you let go of the screen, it's off. And if that happened to you, you would not be able to keep recording.
Right.
It's not possible.
I mean,
You
he
wouldn't
probably.
be able to. First of all, you get scared. You'd release the screen. Second of all, if you're running up the stairs and all that, you wouldn't be able to keep recording. So
Yeah,
this seems like a real legitimate story to me.
I agree. Yeah. I will say though that I've had a raccoon in my crawl space before, and I would recognize that that was not a raccoon noise.
Actually, and it touched up on at the end of the story. There were some photos of when he went back down there, and that person was just freaking hacking away at stuff down there. Like, pulled off the insulation and was just
I can't even fathom what he was doing. Like I was trying to piece it together. Like, what would you do? Why would you be doing that?
like, I don't know, maybe he was and there was even some damage to the pipes and stuff too. But my thought went to, is he trying to like do it in a spot where he could pop up and scare them? Like, or get the girlfriend, like assuming it is this crazy ex.
Yeah,
You know,
I don't know.
I don't know. But then again, if you knock a huge hole in the floor, somebody's gonna see it when they walk in the room, you'd think.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm wondering what his plan was. That is crazy. But I mean, if you're crazy enough to go and live in someone's crawl space, then your plans are probably not sound.
It makes you wonder how long you're down there. Doesn't seem like the type of place that you could. There's no entry from the outside, so
Yeah.
somebody brought up a good point. Setting up a break-in, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, leave for the day and go back out and take your stuff, but I don't know. Seems like they could have already done that, right? Because they had to get into the house when he wasn't there, you'd assume.
Yeah, because he said he had the key was missing, so I think that's how they got in there.
And this all happened in the nighttime hours. So, I mean, you'd assume that the person got in there and they were gone during the day, but then again, I guess you never know.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder how long they're down there. It's not a very comfortable place to hang out.
No, because this guy was very tall. You can tell by how
Yeah.
tall he was while crouching down. So this would be a very uncomfortable position to be in. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen.
It is. I think let's watch the end one more time before we move on.
Yeah. Yeah, so like right there, he's like at half, bent over, and he's still nearing the top of that.
Yeah. That's the most terrifying thing ever.
Yeah.
The person was definitely trying to hide in the corner. Like maybe like you got stuck in a spot where you couldn't really navigate the rest of crawl space, so you're kind of SOL. I'll
Yeah.
just try to hide in the corner. Dude, I don't, I don't that's not the scariest thing ever, then I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'll cue you up, man. I'll cue you up. You ready? Hold on a sec.
Yes.
So, okay, somebody said they found their phone charger. Don't want to miss the rest of the show. Someone said best story of the show yet. Thank you. I appreciate that. I was real excited to share that. It's not like originally sent to us, so I do want to note that. But uh, definitely, if you want to see a bunch of more content like that, I think Mr. Nightmare is the way to go. There's a bunch of stuff like that. Yeah, no, awesome story, Luke. I'll cue you up, man.
Yeah.
We're gonna go back down the rabbit hole of this creature. I'm excited.
Yeah. So this one takes place in Southern California. We're in Michigan before. Now we're in Southern California.
Can't hear you. You're cutting in and out. We have to restart talking now.
Oh,
I don't know. I can't hear you. Maybe I'm up.
really?
Now I hear you. Now
Oh,
talk.
okay. That was weird.
You're good.
All right, so this one takes place in Southern California, which, quite a bit of ways from Michigan where we were last time. And this is called the South California Not Deer. I commute for my job. It's a retail job. I live in a rural area in the Southern California foothills. It is currently my only option. I drive home every night near 1 a.m. I take the highway. It's always deserted at these times, and some nights were more peculiar than others, but nothing so extreme as this incident. It's not uncommon for me to see a lot of wildlife on these drives. I would take it slow and be alert. Occasionally, I see a black-tailed deer, coyotes, raccoons, etc. One recent night, it was only about 10 minutes away from home. I rode up to the usual four-way stop that I stopped at 100 times before. Not a soul around. As I came to a complete stop, I saw something standing just off by the side of the road across an intersection. It was obviously an animal. It was headed toward the road, so I was going to wait for it to cross. It took me a second to really comprehend what it was at first. I thought it was a horse, which, although dangerous, wouldn't be that uncommon for where I lived due to irresponsible ranchers and their constantly broken fences. Then, as I started to make out more what it was, it neared light of the headlights. I realized something was very wrong with this animal. It was tall, so much so that the legs looked stilt-like. As I sat there, shocked, it slowly stepped onto the road, and it came across my car's direct beam of my headlight. At this point, I realized two things. One, it was much taller than my car. Its height was monstrous. Two, its gait was very odd, almost like it didn't know how to properly walk as a deer should. It was like all the joints wanted to bend the wrong way. It moved slowly into the oncoming lane and it swiveled its head to look back at me. All the hair on my body rose. What spooked me the most was that there was certainly a deer, or at least something that looked like one. It looked normal in every way except for the spiral-like legs it was standing on. At this point, I gassed the car, and the deer stood unmoving as my car sped by. I looked in my rear-view mirror and caught a glimpse of it crossing the oncoming lane back into the shoulder of the highway, illuminated red by my brake lights. When I got home, I ran into my house and locked myself in. I'm still understandably freaked out.
You can just say you're muted, dumbass. It's live. It's fine. That's terrifying. They're all definitely really want you to know how tall this thing is.
Yeah.
And I kind of I'm still at the death claw, man. Those legs, until like skinny legs, man.
Yeah, but what I found interesting about this is while he didn't necessarily say it had intelligent eyes, it said it stared at him, right? Which seems to be intelligent, right? Same thing with the first guy. Skinny legs or skinny appendages, really tall, and some sort of intelligence. And then like this guy described it as looking like a deer, but not a deer.
Yeah. What do you do when that happens? Is it like Jurassic Park with the T-Rex? Like, just don't move. Like maybe if you don't move, it won't see you. Like, what do you do in that?
So
situation?
he decided to gun it and run it there. He was just like getting out of there.
He was out of there. I don't know what I would do. I could almost see where you'd be like frozen though, right? Like frozen in time.
Yeah.
as you're experiencing this? Like, I don't know. I don't know what I do. A lot of people are asking some form of, do you think this is the same thing from the first story? So let me ask you this as we get further in these stories. So you're obviously sharing them for a reason. So what's the connection that you saw to these? Was it a bunch of people like piggybacking off of each other? What was
So
it?
these I found. So I mentioned they had different authors. They're also months or even a year apart, and they're also in vastly different parts of the country.
Yeah, not even
Nothing,
close.
nothing like was connecting them except for there are similarities in like the height, the strange way it walks, the seeming intelligence, and just like some otherworldliness to it. They've all kind of described something that put them off when they saw it. And to me, that speaks to something else, something not natural in terms of being an animal. And my current working theory, there's still one more story to get through, but my current working theory is something like a forest god.
A forest god?
Yeah. If
Not
you
to be
look up,
confused with Forrest Gump.
yeah, if you look up any picture of a forest god, they look like really tall deer-like creatures with different, like somewhat intelligent looking faces.
A lot of people are commenting it reminds them of like an alien or something.
That's fair. I mean, what's the difference between a god and an alien? You know,
Dang, you just got real deep there. I can't answer that one. I don't know. So this was at night again, right?
yeah,
The first one was at night, right, with the boat.
yep. Or wait, actually, I don't know if he said the time of day.
You didn't see the time of day on that?
No, but the last one I believe does take place in the evening. So
Like I said before, as we've talked about, as we've shared so many stories now, the nighttime definitely throws you off on being able to visually see the size of something.
yeah,
So that makes you wonder, it's like something that's really big would probably seem just gigantic. You know what I mean? At night. So I'm not surprised by that at all, but
yeah.
I don't know. I'm curious if that first one was at night though. So yeah, land and water now though. Nowhere near water on the second one, right? No
Yeah,
indications of water.
that was Southern California, which I think is a pretty dry area.
Yeah, they don't have any water there.
Yeah, that's their problem.
There's no water in Southern California. So yeah, point being though, there just seems to be no limit to where it's going to go at least.
Yeah, but it does have it. Like the first one ran into the woods afterwards, so like you can see that this is like something that lives near the forest, possibly.
Did you call that Into the Unknown?
Yeah.
Southern California, much like Arizona. Thank you, Chad Michael. It's pointing that out there. So it's a desert. It's a desert god, Luke. Maybe it's a desert god. You had this wrong all along, dang it.
Maybe.
You're not
This
even-
last one isn't there, though.
Well, I don't know. I will say this, though. This is what it's starting to remind me of, though.
You saw the dog, didn't you? The black dog. I've heard truckers talk about it on the yard. They say it comes to take everything away from you.
And it did.
It did.
The black
I love the
dog.
guy in the back seat. He's like got this goofy
Yeah,
ass
he's
face.
all. Yeah, I know. He's all excited. That's such a good movie. That's what it's like. You're seeing these phantom things, though. It's like the black dog.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got one more story. So, Into the Unknown. Hi, Maggie. Hi. Into the Unknown. I'm going to venture off into a different kind of story here, Luke, if you don't mind.
Okay.
It's my last story of the evening. Trying to keep it a little bit shorter. We've been doing these like all-nighter freaking recordings, so try to keep it to around an hour from now on. It's a little easier post-production, may I add. So I'm going to set up the music here. And hopefully when I start talking, it doesn't cut off and do weird stuff like it did to you. But can you hear the music? I still sound all right?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, I'm glad it didn't happen to me. This is actually called Scary Wedding Guest Story. It's by an anonymous person. I had a pretty low-key beach wedding, mostly just family and friends. My wife, who I'll just call Trisha, invited more people than me for sure. She invited her ex-boyfriend, Kyle. I didn't know exactly how I felt about that at the time, but I acted accepting and fine with it because I knew they remained close friends. There were about 75 people at the wedding ceremony, including Kyle. I didn't pay much attention at this time of the day during the wedding because it was obviously such a big day and my mind was racing. There was so much going on. But at the wedding, Kyle was friendly to me. Throughout the wedding reception, I noticed Kyle would constantly be talking to Trisha, and then when he wasn't talking to her, he'd be looking in her general direction. I mean, Trisha and I are married now. It's not like he had any sort of shot at all. So at the time, I start to think maybe I was just being a little too paranoid, even if it was slightly annoying. Kyle came alone to the wedding, which I thought was a tad bit weird. He didn't bring a date. That's typically what somebody would do at a wedding. My wife and I stayed in a fancy waterfront hotel that night, and the next day we went back home. A couple of people who couldn't make it to the wedding came by the house to congratulate us and drop off gifts. Surprisingly, Kyle stopped by as well. Trisha and I had recently moved into a new house together, and Kyle claimed to stop by to check out her new place, also to drop off his gift that he didn't give to us at the wedding reception. He handed us the gift. Well, he handed Trisha the gift, an envelope and a teddy bear holding a heart, and on the heart was our initials. I found this to be a nice, thoughtful gift. We gave Kyle a tour of the house, and he stayed for a beer. But after that, he said he'd better get going, and he congratulated us before leaving. Inside the envelope was a card containing $100. As nice as I thought the gifts were, I still believed he had some serious feelings for Trisha. I asked her to ease back on the friendship a bit. She couldn't see what I saw, though. Apparently, she swore up and down that they were just very close friends and there were no feelings left on either side. Trisha put the teddy bear next to some of the other gifts on our dresser, while my wife and I were in bed together having a romantic moment. I stopped her when I heard this weird noise. I couldn't put my finger on what it was, but it sounded like a small electrical component. I looked around for my phone and found it was on my nightstand. I chalked it up to just being a vibration from something like a text notification. Like half an hour later, lying in bed with the light off, I once again brought up Kyle, asking if he texted her since the day before. She said he had, which honestly annoyed me. I repeated myself saying I don't want her talking to him. And told her I don't want her talking to him anymore. She got a little mad at me for accusing her of being interested in him at all. I assured her he was still interested in her because why would he stick around in his ex's life like this? She got back at me with her assurance that she doesn't view him romantically at all and that she's no longer attracted to him and that she broke up with him for that reason. She followed this up with she would ease back on contact with him. I apologized for coming at her like that, and we decided to go to sleep. The next day when I got home from work, Trisha told me that Kyle randomly blocked her on Instagram. And when she texted him asking what's wrong, he replied, "What do you care? I know you two are talking bad about me." When she tried texting back asking what he was talking about, she said that he had already blocked her. I wondered if maybe she butt dialed him on her phone while we had that conversation the previous night. But when she checked her call history, his name wasn't in there. I wasn't angry though, because him blocking her meant I was right. He did still have feelings for her, and now he'd be gone out of our lives. That night while in bed, we talked about it some more. Then I heard the little electronic vibrating again, and I looked at the teddy bear on the dresser. When I got up, I walked over to the teddy bear and picked it up. My heart dropped. I ran to the kitchen, grabbed a knife from there, and started to tear the bear open. The inside of the bear's head was a square electrical component wired so that it was very obviously a camera behind the left eye and a microphone box wired to the left ear. This was connected to some kind of Bluetooth device or something, would probably allow a phone to send and receive data from it. We went to the police that night with the teddy bear and filed a police report. We then hired a lawyer and pressed charges against Kyle for invasion of privacy. And the judge ruled in our favor and the judge required Kyle to pay us $15,000 each. Trisha also got a restraining order against him. And that was the end of him in our lives, though we still do sometimes worry that he may pay us an unexpected visit. If he was crazy enough to wire a teddy bear to spy on us and possibly watch us in bed together, who knows how far someone like that is capable of taking things.
That is scary. Because that is actually a shockingly easy thing to do to someone. So, like, yeah, that's messed up.
Look at the teddy bear. It's so cute, you know?
Yeah.
You got to be crazy to do that shit, though, for sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I'm sure you could buy something like that now.
Oh,
Back
yeah.
Back in the day, you would have had to, like, make, like, rig that up. But now you could buy anything.
Yeah, you could get, like, modules already ready to rock, probably for, like, $30.
People were guessing the story as we went along on that story. They're saying, check the teddy bear. I bet the teddy bear. Kyle, you stupid. But there are a lot of things being said. Let's see what else we got.
I mean,
it's obviously the teddy bear, dude. People were all over this from the beginning when you got that gift. Were you as well?
I kind of suspected when I heard like the you said there's electronical noise in the room, and I was thinking there's a bug for sure.
There's a bug. They're bugged. Usually you have to get the teddy bear the SD card out of the teddy bear, though. Someone's saying, how did he receive the footage unless it was live streaming? Ooh, live streaming.
You can rig up long range Bluetooth emitters and stuff like that and transmit data, or you can also hook it up to a Wi-Fi, which would be even better because then you can beam it across the world. And they're really cheap. And I could rig one up for like $40 and put it in anything if I wanted to. I've worked with a lot of like electronic stuff like that here recently, and they're everywhere.
Maybe it's something you shouldn't be claiming.
No. Like I use it for like making internet connected light displays, things like that.
To each his own. Yeah. He really planned this out though.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm gonna get my foot in the door. I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna get to this wedding. Then I'm gonna stop. If that all goes well, which I'm gonna make sure it does, I'm going to then stop by their house the next night, play it cool, get a tour, drink a beer, give them $100, smooth things over. Why would you suspect anything from me? I gave you a nice card. I gave you $100. I gave you a cute teddy bear with your two initials on it.
Yeah.
All set up, man.
That was a very premeditated and very freaking weird thing to do.
It was really weird. He might as well just came out and said,
"It's me, Austin! Oh, son of a bitch! What? It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!"
Right? I mean,
yeah.
But here's the thing, though. When you make the decision to do something like that, if they find this camera, there's no turning back. They know it was you. I mean, there's not like, I wonder if Kyle did that. Like, you did it. If you get caught, you're going to be considered the creepiest dude ever and possibly have legal action taken upon you, which he did. They got $30,000 total out of it.
Yeah.
Maybe you can bring one of them teddy bears to my house. You know what I'm saying? I'll take that.
Watch you sleep for a day and then they'll turn
watch
you
some
in.
romantic time. I don't care. I'll take that $30,000 altogether. Dang. Anyways, no, it's a cool story though. It's a simple one, but I thought it was a pretty cool one.
Yeah. It's a very realistic one too.
You got to be careful who you invite to your wedding,
Yeah, don't invite their ex.
Did you think that was so? Like, also with that story, I'm getting a kick out of it the whole time, right? Because I've been married. It's a past tense there. He was just so adamant on he was right all along, right? He had to keep throwing that little dagger in there that I knew I was right. I'm smart. I was right.
Yeah, he's not like the greatest guy ever either, though, because he's kind of being like a bit of a dick.
Yeah, he's being a bit of a jerk about it all along here. Kyle bought the camera off Luke. And there's a picture of your cat, maybe, Luke, that you're walking on that there. I don't know.
That's not my cat.
Someone said it's worth the $30,000. Maybe. It's definitely creepy though.
I don't think that's worth the 30K.
Maybe that's just me and my desperation, you know. I don't know. But
Yeah.
still though, it's a creepy experience. Would you go to the cops with that, Luke? Or
Yeah,
is you like, I'm gonna kick your ass?
No, I got immediately go to the cops. Yeah, because I knew that at the very least he'd go to jail, but I'd probably get money.
You think it's easy to prove that he got them that teddy bear?
Yeah, I think so. Because it has their initials on it, right?
Yeah.
So that was a custom job. So
Oh yeah, it's got custom all over. He
So
spent a lot of time and effort into doing
So
this.
you could figure out who that came from. It's premeditated. Like this is like an open and shut case.
Yeah, you want to fork out some money. You ship a teddy bear to Jeff Townsend Media in Indiana here.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'll take
Hey.
it. A little creepy though, but I'll take it. Good story. That was my last one of the night. You have one more, right?
Yes, we do have one more.
We'll cue up the music for you. Play that funky music, White Boy, and we'll get you going.
All right. This one takes place in Wisconsin. And this actually comes from an officer in the Department of Natural Resources. Okay, so while working for the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources in 2017, I was assigned to investigate sightings of a particular deer in the South Kettle Moraine State Forest along the Ice Age National Scenic Trail. The description suggested the deer suffered from chronic wasting disease. There were 3 different reports, each stating that the deer was malnourished, severely injured, and had a terrible odor. My first thought was that the deer had been wounded and that gangrene had probably set in. The part of the trail where the deer was reported was difficult to access with a vehicle, so I ended up hiking. The sightings were near one of the public shelters. The most recent report was made about 24 hours previous. I reached the shelter just as the thunderstorm began to roll in. I looked around quickly for the deer, but the rain started to fall heavily and I decided to wait it out in the shelter. The shelters in this area of the park are more like little cabins and used by backpackers. Took off my backpack and sat down. I was soon overcome by the stench of rotting flesh. It came out of nowhere. It was so strong that I was nearly gagging. I looked around the interior of the shelter to see if I could find the source. Then I thought I saw something move past the doorway, but when I peeked outside, there was nothing. The stench then disappeared as quickly as it had manifested. I waited in the shelter for maybe about another 30 minutes. The storm hadn't let up, but the stench suddenly returned. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew there was something terribly wrong. I can't explain how I knew, I just knew. I then heard something scrape against the side of the shelter. It was loud. I looked out through the window and I saw what looked like to be white antlers. Now that didn't make any sense at all. It was early summer here in Wisconsin, and bucks don't start growing their antlers until much later in the season. Even if they were early, they would still be covered with felt. I figured this must be the injured deer, and it certainly smelled like it was on death's door. I tried to get a better look out the window, but the animal appeared to be moving towards the door of the shelter. Whatever it was, I was about to see it soon enough. Couldn't shake the feeling that there was something off about this whole situation. I removed the gun, 12 gauge loaded with slugs I had packed to dispatch the deer. I pointed at the door and I waited. The doorway was dark because of the storm, but I could still see well enough to know that the creature that walked into view wasn't an old, injured deer. It was about twice the size of a full-grown male whitetail, and its body was absolutely skeletal. Its fur was long and stringy, like the kind of long hair you find on a dog, and parts of it were missing fur completely. But the worst part was the head was like a skull. No hair, barely any skin, just bone with antlers attached. And I didn't see any eyes in the sockets. I could see it had a tongue in its jaw, and its teeth looked like those of a deer, but the lower jaw didn't appear to be hanging on by much. I didn't know what the thing was. I was standing there in that dark, rain-soaked doorway, and I fired at it. I hit that creature 3 times center mass, and it ran away. It was weird because it didn't fall down, and it didn't even falter when I ran. I waited another hour for the storm to pass by before hiking out of there. I have never been so scared in my life. If a shotgun couldn't stop it, there was nothing I could do if I ran into it again. I finally reached my truck. I have no idea what to report to my boss. I eventually decided to report that I never saw the deer. I thought if I reported the truth, it would raise red flags about my competence. Not long after that incident, I found another position within the department as a conservation warden.
That is a deer that I would not want to mess with.
So again, we have this really tall deer, something otherworldly about it, something that immediately being in the surrounding it put them at ill at ease.
Yeah, the lights in my studio are going crazy. It's so scary.
I wasn't even paying attention.
Oh,
I don't know why it doesn't come through. I don't see it that often.
I think it's just mine. Maybe it's on my end. I don't. That is. It reminds me of that video. I played this computer game when I was a kid. I don't remember. It would have been forever ago, where the deer were hunting the people.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen that.
It was like silly, right? Like they'd try to lure the human there with adult beverages and silly stuff. But this is like real life. Like the deer is hunting the person, or whatever this thing is.
You know what's weird? It didn't seem to have any malice towards him. Like it was just observing him, and he reacted because of the weird feeling he got.
But he got the feeling it was kind of preying on him a little bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe so. He saw the thing, and then he was like, "This shouldn't exist," and he fired at it. Now, this was the first guy to be on foot near it when he saw it, and he reported the stench. Now, I have seen other stories. There are more than these 3 stories about this thing, and some others have mentioned the stench also. So a consistent feeling with all these stories, though, is it's very tall, spindly looking limbs. And,
real smelly son bitch.
Real smelly son of a bitch. But also this feeling of otherworldly kind of dread just being around it.
A lot of people are picking up on the smell. Somebody even brought up, didn't a deer, deer and odor, isn't that from the stairs story that you guys shared? We did talk about an elk and an odor, right?
Yeah, there was an elk and odor. Now that you mention it, they talked about like a giant elk and the smell of rotted meat.
Yeah.
That's identical to that. Yeah.
I bet there's so many stories of this. Like people are just like, "Oh, I saw this." Someone's like, "I saw that." Describe that visual of the jaw again. How did he word that again?
He described the jaw as being just barely hanging on.
Yeah.
The lower jaw.
Someone said skinwalker. That's what it sounds like, right?
You know what? A lot of skinwalker stories do sound like that too. So, yeah, that's definitely a possibility. Like I said, all these deer stories, though, they kind of have like this. And that first one doesn't necessarily describe it as a deer, but it had like the thin legs up front, and he described it being very tall next to his thing, and it was kind of like looking around, and like a deer kind of does that, you know?
Oh yeah.
So like in my head, that sounds like a deer. I found that story first, and then I kind of found these other ones, and I was like, wait, this has some similarities to that one, and then the third one, it's like all these things are really tall, twice the size of a deer, which would be about 8 feet tall, as that first guy described. And thin legs and stuff.
Does it make you want to go hunting or fishing?
I actually always want to go fishing, but it does make me want to. I've always had this thing where I would love to go cryptid hunting. Not hunting with a gun, but
like
trying
hunting with Bitcoin. What does that mean?
No, like
currency hunting. What do you say? What'd you say?
Cryptid, like
cryptid.
Looking for like Bigfoot or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't believe in Bigfoot, but I would love to go Bigfoot hunting.
Do you not believe in? Okay, I'm trying to think of how to word this. Do you not believe in Bigfoot, or do you not believe in Bigfoot? Does that make any sense how I'm wording you there?
I think I know what you're going for. So, like, it's not that I don't believe people aren't seeing things. I just don't believe it's Harry and the Henderson style Bigfoot.
That's a pretty good. That's actually a pretty good visual. to
Yeah.
lay out. But I mean, it's possible, right? There's stuff out there we don't know what it is still.
There's definitely things out there we don't know. And like some of these things might be not necessarily animal kingdom related. They might be some sort of something old or something more primal, you know.
Maybe.
So like it's not necessarily that it's like an ape, but it might be something else out there.
Let me paint a picture for you here. Let's say you're walking your cat one night or dog. It doesn't really matter. You're walking your dog down a dark street, little woods nearby, and which version of this story is most scary to you? If it jumped, like all three stories that you shared, which version would you least want to encounter and why?
The second story, the one with the almost, he described it as almost like spider-like legs because they bent in all different directions.
And what would you do? What would you and your dog do?
Well, all right, so I would run.
Because it's not a sidearm if it's not on you, though.
Yeah, I don't have a sidearm on me. I don't have a carry permit.
You'd run, yeah.
Yeah,
I would too. If it's like a deer, though, it might catch you.
Yeah, if it's something with long legs, it will definitely catch you, right?
Yeah.
But I will at least try to get a little bit closer to safety if I can.
Someone said they'd be scared of somebody walking their cat. I've seen the cat walking, though. I've actually seen this, though. This happens.
I don't think I ever have.
You've never seen somebody walking their cat? I've seen it.
No.
Man. It's cute.
I will say, though, it's all right. So I have this theory about the people who live down the road from me. I think they might be aliens.
Oh.
Because they act like people in the sense that they are pretending to be normal, but everything they do just isn't quite normal. And like it's not like I'm constantly staring at them or whatever.
You got a teddy bear, you could do that.
But like, I go outside and I like get in the mail or something, and they'll be doing things that seem like normal human activities, but slightly wrong. And
they're like trying too hard. Like, does it feel like they're trying too hard to do?
Yeah, it's like almost like they're putting on a show of doing these things. And so they've been doing it for like a couple of years now, and it's very strange.
Do they wave? Do they acknowledge you like a?
Never once, no.
Just like mowing the grass without the mower on. Like, I mean, you got to elaborate here.
Like, I don't know. It's weird to watch people sweep their sidewalk. Like, I don't see people do that very often.
They're damn proud of that sidewalk.
Or constantly shooting, their basketball at the hoop over and over again, but constantly missing, but never stopping doing it. Or moving from that spot.
Same spot. Okay.
Yeah, so they keep going back to the exact same spot when they get the ball and they shoot again. It miss over and over again. Never seem to actually.
So they don't catch it like under the goal and like make it shorter. They go right back to the spot.
Yeah, no. It's very strange.
We need video evidence of this.
I'm gonna videotape my neighbors. But anyway, they do a few other things like that, and anyway, I don't know. They might be aliens. I think they are. If
you're listening out there, feel free to join us live. If you're his neighbors, and let us know if you're aliens or not. Now we all have to know. Okay, so I think the deer one is the scariest for me. I'm just gonna say it of your three stories.
Which one? The
deer come across my yard all the time, and I'm picturing this happening to me. So yeah. I'll tell you what, though. Let's do what we usually do. Let's share a clip. We'll go to the greatest movie ever made, Black Dog, for the greatest scene in any movie ever. And we'll come back and we will each pick what we thought the scariest story of the night that we shared tonight was. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
You saw the dog, didn't you?
What dog?
The black dog.
You mean like the Led Zeppelin song?
No, Cruz knows what I'm talking about, don't you? I've heard truckers talk about it on the yard. They say it comes when you've been on the road too long and pushing too hard. When you get greedy. They say it comes to take everything away from you.
And it did. I was, hauling a load up from Atlanta on my 6th straight Georgia run. It was my daughter's birthday, and I thought I could make it home in time. I was on this long, dark stretch of I-75 with nothing to look at but the white line when I saw it. He was in the middle of the road, coming straight at me with his teeth bared, red eyes staring. So I swerved to miss him. And I lost control.
Where do you come up with this shit?
It's for real, Wes.
Yeah? And I bet you've seen UFOs and aliens with big eyes.
No. Just a black dog.
It
love
gets me every
this, dude.
time. I can't, dude. It gets me every time. That guy is such a a-hole.
Yeah, Wes.
He has
Yeah.
no sympathy for what he's gone through, you know?
Yeah, he is just something else.
All right. I will kick it off. I'm going to be selfish, Luke, and say I did love the theme of your 3 stories being consistent-ish with each other. But it's hard to beat the crawl space story. So I got to give you
Yeah.
the crawl space story. But I'll give you the creativity because you went out and like found some of this low-key stuff, and I just went for the cheap pop. Actually, I just wanted to really share that story because I thought it was awesome. But the crawl space story is really hard to beat, man.
No, yeah, I agree. That crawl space one is really messed up. I'm going to to be slightly different. I am going to pick that first one though, with the person in the closet, the little kid and everything like that. That one was really scary, but that's just to be a little different.
Somebody out there's went exactly with you there. They went 1-2 just like that.
Yeah.
I think the thing about those two, your stories are always cool to hear and kind of go down a rabbit hole, like you said, about because there's just so many things like that out there. People just experiencing these unknown things. But these stories that I shared, the reason they're so terrifying is because at the end of the day, more terrifying than any creature, any monster, are actually some people.
Yeah.
Humans can be the most terrifying thing ever when you think about it. And to me, that's why those kind of stories always get to me more. Even though I love discussing and sharing stories like yours, but at the end of the day, I think the human's got to be the scariest thing always.
I agree. Because one thing, there are like, 8 billion of us. So like the odds that there are, I think it's actually, they said the odds that you walk by like 4 or 5 murderers in your life. So, you're definitely going to come in contact with people who are just plain bad. And like a lot of people go their whole lives never seeing these unknown creatures or anything like that, so yeah, it's a much more dangerous world when you consider the fact that a lot of people just are wrong and are bad.
Well said. Luke, makes some good girls go bad. And I have enjoyed another episode here, my friend. These are some awesome stories. We do this every Monday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Ish.
Yeah.
10:30, 10:45. Luke gets real into walking that cat dog. It might be 11 o'clock before he gets on the son bitch. But who's judging? I'm not judging because I'm just thankful we get to share these stories with you. We get to share your stories with you, with the world. So yeah, submit your stories at yourscarystories.com. Always tag along with us. Yeah, Jeff is never on time. That person's right. I live stream all the time and I'm never on time. A lot goes into a live stream though. Life's hard, guys.
AV equipment never cooperates.
It's just like time never cooperates. I'm going to leave you at that. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good one to end on.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your stories. If you join us every week, please, we'll get these clips out individually on YouTube. So go to my YouTube at Jeff Townsend Media. It's at Podcast Fathers, the handle. Work on getting a clip set up, like a YouTube setup for that. But anyways, Jeff Townsend Media is housing everything, all the content I create and everything. Let's do this. Let's do something a little different here. For those of you that have joined late and missed the crawl space story, well, I will go ahead and play for you the second half of it. Then we'll hit the intro. We're just going to be out of here. So that sound good to you, Luke? We'll hit the crawl space story. Then we'll go straight into the outro.
Yep. Sounds good.
Video. Okay. All right. Yep. Until next time, keep being you and keep being great. You can mute your mic if you want, Luke. There you go.
What the fuck is that noise?
Boom. All right. Yep. Everybody, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place.